Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets trading for Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and a proposed trade by an NBA analyst that is 100% not going to happen, but we're still going to talk about it because it is very interesting. So there was a reporter, or not a reporter, but an NBA analyst named Kevin O'Connor who ended up making a post on X making a trade proposal between the Rockets and the Warriors. And this would be such a huge trade, not just because of who's involved in it, with the greatest shooter of all time and Draymond Green and all the other players that are involved, but also just the amount of players that are getting traded and the draft picks. It would be a crazy trade that is 100% not going to happen, but it's just funny and silly to talk about, at least for me. So the Rockets would receive Stephen Curry, which is the craziest part about it. 10-time All-Star, 2-time scoring champ, who is also a 1-time steal champ, 4-time NBA champion, 10-time All-NBA, was two-time MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP. So, who is averaging this year 23 points per game and 6 assists per game with 5 rebounds per game, and shooting from three 41%. So the Rockets would receive Stephen Curry, and then they would also receive Draymond Green, who is one of the best defensive players of all time, has won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, multiple time All-Star as well. And the Rockets would receive Draymond, who, look, is having not a great year, but he's never really been an offensive guy, shooting 42% from the floor and 36% from three, which would actually be good for how bad of a three-point shooting team this Rockets team is. And he's averaging 8.4 points per game with 6 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. I think the most important thing is how good he is defensively, averaging 1 steal per game and over 1 block per game. And so it's crazy that it's Steph and Draymond. It gets better. Also, the Rockets, on top of that, will receive Buddy Hield, who is one of the best three-point shooters in basketball. Buddy Hield, who in his career from three has shot 40%. This year, shooting 37% from three with the Warriors, averaging 12 points per game. And he's averaging 3 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1 steal per game. And so they would receive Buddy Hield. And it's not over. This is the craziest deal, the craziest trade proposal deal I've ever seen, I think. Then the Rockets would also receive someone who's also fairly another good three-point shooter, and Lindy Waters. It's like probably the least crazy part of this whole deal when you have the other players being Steph, Draymond, and Buddy Hield. But the Rockets would receive a fourth player in this deal that is Lindy Waters, averaging 6 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, and has been a pretty solid shooter this year from three, over 33%. So that's who the Rockets would receive in this deal. Who do they give up? What do they give up? I feel like this is the type of deal that you will have Warriors fans saying, this trade is completely crazy. The Warriors would never do this. And then you have the Rockets saying the same thing because of what the Rockets are giving up. The Rockets would give up Fred VanVleet, who's averaging 15 points and 6 assists per game this season, and 4 rebounds per game, and really good defensively. The Rockets would also give up the 3rd overall pick from this year's NBA draft, Reed Shepherd, who has not played much this year, so his averages are really down, averaging only 3 points per game. But he's a very good shooter, just doesn't play a lot. So, but then the doesn't end there. The Warriors would also receive Cam Whitmore, 20-year-old, who is one of the most talented players from last year's draft, but doesn't play a lot with the Rockets' talent. He's only played 22 minutes per game this year, he's averaging 10 points per game this season. He's averaging 4 rebounds per game. But interesting, in his last 10 games, he's averaging 13 points per game with 5 rebounds per game. And from three, he's shooting 41%. If you just go over his last 10 games, he's averaging 13, 5, 1 assist, 1 steal per game, 41% from three, and 45% from the floor. Then the Warriors would also receive Steven Adams, who this season has averaged 3 points per game and 5 rebounds per game. But if you want to go over someone, you want to go over his last 10 games, Steven Adams is averaging 3 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 1 block and a half a steal per game with 1 assist per game. So the Warriors would also receive Steven Adams. It's not over there. The Warriors would also receive Jayshawn Tate, who's averaging 4 points per game and 2 rebounds per game this season. And Jayshawn Tate, in his last 10 games, is averaging 4-3 with 1 assist, half a steal, and half a block per game. He's a very good defender. And then on top of those 5 players going to Golden State, the Warriors, the big part of this deal, would receive 7 first-round picks. I think that's the big part of this trade that makes Rockets fans say, absolutely not. I think if it was just the players, if it's just Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore, Adams, and Tate, and maybe it's 3-4 first-round picks headed to Golden State, or maybe at the most 5 first-round picks headed to Golden State, maybe it doesn't sound crazy, but 7 first-round picks is what makes this deal sound completely insane. And the Rockets really, the big part of this trade is you send your future away with not only 2 players who are a big part of the future, and Reed and Cam, but also all those draft picks for Steph and Draymond, who are at the end of their careers. Even if they can be an impact now, there's not much left in the tank for those 2 guys. So that's a lot to give up for those 2 guys. I don't know who is better off in this trade, because the Warriors get something that they are really not in the strong mode of right now of draft capital. You get a lot of draft capital for 2 guys who are at the end of their careers, plus with 2 really young players who are really good, plus a really nice point guard who's a solid shooter, good defender, good facilitator to replace one of the best shooters of all time. I'm not saying the Warriors are better off making this deal, but this is probably the best draft capital the Warriors could get for a Steph Curry and a Draymond Green. But does this still happen? Absolutely not. But it's just fun to talk about. Let me know your thoughts on the Rockets potentially trading for Stephen Curry and Draymond Green alongside Buddy Hield. Completely not going to happen. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.